He's Chris Mannix, the senior basketball writer for Sports Illustrated. He joins us now. You want to start Heat Pacers, Thunder Spurs, or Cleveland Cavaliers win the lottery?
Well, I'm just thinking to myself last night, Dan, and I'm over at the lottery, and I'm just with a bunch of the media sitting there, kind of herded into one room, waiting to go over to talk to the teams after the draft and after the lottery was over. And I'm thinking that, could you imagine if a big market team got the first overall pick in 3 of the last 4 years? What if the Knicks had gotten the first overall pick in 3 of the last 4 years? And I think the fact that it's Cleveland and nobody can fathom the NBA trying to direct talent to Cleveland, that makes it acceptable. But just imagine if it was a bigger team.
If you were going to manipulate the lottery, best for the NBA would have been what?
I think that the Celtics and Lakers picking 1-2 would be the ultimate kind of conspiracy theory. I mean, those are the 2 marquee franchises that the NBA would love to have turned around. Those are teams that, with the proper draft pick, can probably turn around themselves pretty quickly. I would say that's 1-2. Beyond that, I don't know. I don't think there's any other real conspiracy theory that stands out. I mean, Philadelphia stunk. Milwaukee, not trying to direct talent there, and obviously Cleveland is what they are.
All right. Can Cleveland trade this pick? Will they trade this pick?
I don't think they'll trade it. I think they're going to use it in the sense I get early. And believe me, the Cavaliers people, the ones I talked to yesterday, I mean, they have no idea what they're going to go with because with a 1.7% chance of getting the top pick, they had no plans for this. But the sense I get is that it could come down to between the two Kansas guys, Joel Embiid and Andrew Wiggins. David Griffin, the new GM in Phoenix, or not in Cleveland, he comes from Phoenix, and he likes to play an up-tempo style, and Wiggins paired with Kyrie Irving, that's really an appealing backcourt that you can have there. On the other side of it, that the Cavaliers' defense the last 2 years has just been absolutely terrible. There was 29th in the NBA at the end of the season in shot blocking. They could really use a guy with Embiid's talents too. So either one of those guys seem to fit, and I think it's going to come down to one of the two.
All right, give me your mock draft top 3.
Well, I've got Wiggins at number 1 to the Cavaliers. Number 2, Joel Embiid. I think the Bucks. I think they would have liked to get their hands on Wiggins just because of his potential star power and how he might be able to almost single-handedly, make the franchise relevant. But they've got a need at center alongside Larry Sanders, and Larry Sanders, Joel Embiid front court, that has the potential to be as menacing defensively as any team in the league. And Jabari Parker, the Sixers at 3. I mean, Philadelphia, they were the worst scoring team in the NBA last season statistically. You plug Parker in at either 3 or the 4, and he's going to make an impact right away. I will say this, too, that I know you guys probably talked about it earlier in the show, but this is going to do nothing to quiet the narrative of LeBron James going back to Cleveland. It's only going to enhance it even more because the talent the Cavaliers have, a new GM there who's widely respected around the league in Griffin, and a head coach who's not even in place yet, that's going to make that destination even more appealing to LeBron.
All right. Realistically, though, because I know that we love to look at where LeBron will eventually go to. I don't know if he wants to stay in Miami. I thought that hinged on Dwayne Wade's health. But if you have a chance to go back to Cleveland, can you see that roster as something that he can go in and actually feel like he can win a championship there?
Oh, I think he can. And I don't know if it's necessarily that you see it as a guaranteed championship. I think LeBron looks at it objectively and says, which one of these situations is better for me for the next 3 to 5 years? And, LeBron's going to have a unique, view of Dwayne Wade. He's maybe better than any other player out there is going to know, or at least know to the best of his ability, what Dwayne's going to be capable of over the next 3 years. If he can do this season where he takes a third of it off, they still finish with a top 2 seed and make the playoffs and have this type of march, then I think that's going to motivate LeBron to stay. But if LeBron thinks that Wade is only going to get worse and it could come to the point where he's not able to play at this level in postseason games, that roster in Cleveland is incredibly appealing. The second part of it is I think LeBron's going to go to Miami's management and on some level discuss with them how much money they're willing to spend going forward. Now, if they re-sign Chris Bosh and they bring all these guys back next year, the 3 guys alone are already going to be in the neighborhood of $60 or $65 million. That luxury tax is right around $77 million next year. and the Heat, because of all the money they've spent the last few years, if they wind up over the luxury tax again, they're in that repeater area that no team wants to be in. So I think LeBron's going to want to know just how deep into the tax you're going to be willing to go to make this team a winner over the next 3 years. More
likely to leave their current teams, Carmelo Anthony or LeBron James?
At this point, I think Carmelo, because just the mess that is New York right now. I mean, the Knicks. I'm not entirely sure that Steve Kerr is going to be a great NBA head coach. I'm bizarrely fascinated by this idea that if you can talk smart on TV, then you can get a head coaching job anywhere in the NBA at $4 million per year. But I think that the Knicks have not done anything to enhance their position with Carmelo. Throw in the fact that Phil Jackson publicly has said to Carmelo, why don't you take more money or less money to stay here, has said he's not going to go up there and woo Carmelo in the ways that some people might expect him to. I think that in some ways the Knicks might be forcing Carmelo's hand. I think they might be the ones, pushing him out the door by not making this anywhere near as appealing as it should be.
Chris Mannix, Sports Illustrated NBA writer, joining us, Dan Patrick Show. Cavs, give me an update here on the coaching search with now Cleveland becomes a very, very attractive job, the Knicks and the Lakers. Where do we is Derek Fisher going to get the Knicks job?
I think Fisher is a candidate, but having spoken to people around the Knicks the last couple of days, there is no short list right now. They were all in on Steve Kerr and invested in getting him there. And with him gone, it's kind of back to square one. I mean, they've talked to Mike Dunleavy. I know that Fisher, once this season's over, they're going to talk to him. And they still have this fascination with having a coach to run the triangle. I mean, to me, the triangle should not be the biggest issue with your head coach. You should be hiring the best guy for the next 5 years, not a guy that runs a specific system. But they are invested in that, and they will talk to Fisher. You mentioned the Cavs. They were interested in Kevin Ollie before Kevin signed that extension with Cleveland. And what I heard is that Kevin is being very particular about what he wants from an NBA team. One person told me that Kevin, he may not want personnel control, but whatever team he goes to, he wants some input on personnel and have that laid out in how that happens. So Kevin didn't work out for Cleveland. George Karl really wants that job. And to me, George makes a lot of sense with that organization. I mean, I mentioned Griffin, comes from Phoenix, likes the up-tempo style. George is an offensive-oriented coach. He's gotten a lot out of guys like Ty Lawson, out of Gary Payton. He could probably maximize the talent with Kyrie Irving.
John Calipari?
No, I don't see Calipari going there. Okay. Calipari wants total control. But Karl, if he's there, we keep going back to LeBron, he makes that even more appealing for LeBron.
The Lakers?
Yeah, again, a team that I've not heard a short list yet. In fact, I've heard very few candidates being bandied about right now for that list. I mean, they didn't make any kind of effort to go get Kevin Ollie when I thought they would. Fred Hoiberg, not been contacted either. Again, that's a possible landing spot for George Karl because of his success. Remember, 2 years ago, this was the NBA Coach of the Year, but I just don't think the Lakers have a short list right now. That might be a situation where they wait until after the draft to hire their head coach, and that could be a long time coming.
Good to visit with you, Chris. Thank you.
All right, Dan.
Chris Mannix, SI.com to see his mock draft, and he likes Wiggins. Joel Embiid going to Milwaukee, and then Jabari Parker going to 76ers.